Hello, welcome to Postcolonial Space. I'm Masood Raja, and today I'll briefly discuss two terms that I have occasionally used in several of my videos about academic research, and those are entering a conversation and situating your research. Now, this was a question posed by a really dear friend from Pakistan, and I felt like I owed a really nuanced elaboration on these 2 points. So, first, entering a conversation. I often tell people and also my former students that when you write a paper or when you're planning to write a paper, you are entering a conversation. What does that mean? Simply stated, what it means is that whatever topic you have chosen or whatever text or affiliated things with the text you're planning to discuss, obviously other people have probably written about it too, either directly or tangentially. One part of doing research is knowing what has been said, written, or even not said about a text. That means there is a scholarly or academic conversation about that text that probably already exists. Entering that conversation, if you think of your work of research as entering that conversation, presupposes then that you would have done your research and know where that conversation used to be, where it is right now, where it is headed, and where do you want to take it. So think of it differently. Let's say you walk into a room and people are talking about something. One way of entering that conversation for you would be to wait a little and see what they're talking about. That's your research. And then you give your own opinion about the topic. Now, that is a more deliberate approach because you at least know what they're talking about. In opposition to that, you could just walk into a room and start talking as if you know everything, and people would probably look at you and think you're a bit crazy because they absolutely have no idea what you're talking about. So when you think of research as entering a conversation, it in a way encourages you to know where a certain scholarly debate is at the current moment and whether or not you're either reframing something previously said or saying something new instead of just repeating what has already probably been done by someone more eloquent and more established than you. So that is research writing, thinking of it as entering a conversation. Now, the second term that I've often used, but also sometimes your professors will also use, and that is situating your research. So my friend from Pakistan again asked me to explain what situating our research work means and what are its ramifications if we understand it clearly. So situating your research is kind of connected to entering a conversation, but it's slightly, in my opinion, a more strategic decision. And why? So there are various ways in which you situate your research. So you will first, for example, situate your research in terms of temporality, right? What text from which period are you going to write about, right? So is it a modernist text? Is it a realistic text? Then you will situate your discussion of the text from the point of view of theory. Are you going to situate it within the Marxist discussions of the text, within the feminist discussions of the text, or within cultural or historical discussions of the text. You are situating your research in a given framework or in a given theoretical debate. Once you've situated it there, then you already know, okay, in Marxism, these are the discussions of this text. So where do you come in? So you are situating it according to the philosophical and theoretical debates that have already happened about the text. Then another way of situatedness is to see what is your political standpoint. Are you situating yourself as a liberal progressive scholar? So your discussion then is situated within that tradition. Is your point of view about the text slightly conservative? That is also your situated position. So you're situating your research within that paradigm. Is your approach to the text from a reader response perspective? That's you situating and privileging your experience and your modes of reading being applied to a text. All of these things situate your research vis-a-vis the text and its history, the theories that you use or employ, and the methodology that you are going to use to decipher a text. You could also do a different kind of situating your approach, and that could be in terms of time. There is a text being read right now. Maybe there is a grand narrative established by religious scholars or theologians. You could situate your research at an originary moment where a grand narrative stems from or was created, and you could pull out something that has not been talked about, that has been erased or hidden, and foreground that in order to change the historical perception of a given work. This is what Foucault calls the buried knowledge, right? And Ibn Khaldun, I think, in one of his works talks about it, because what he says is that the reasons so many people respond so violently to even a tangential critique of their system of thought is because the entire edifice, the social structure that they built upon, is based on that premise. So if you complicate that premise, the entire system collapses. So situatedness in that sense is going back in historiography, going back in historical readings of a text, and then re-articulating it from a different point of view with different facts that were silenced or erased. And Foucault calls it bringing the bruised knowledge and hidden knowledge and force it to confront the normalized discourse. Right? That is another form, in my opinion, of situating your work. So, to conclude, entering a conversation basically implies knowing what is being said, what has been said about a given text, and knowing where you are entering that debate, right? That is knowing where the conversation is. Your research would then be about what all has been written about a given text and what are people's opinions about it, and then where do you stand. That's you entering a conversation. Situating your research in terms of time, in terms of theory, which theory are you going to use, which political or social stance you are taking, all of those things constitute situating your research. One other aspect of it could also be to whom is your research addressed. You're situating it maybe as a liberatory work aimed at people who are oppressed, people who are silenced, right? So that is the situatedness of your work. Then it addresses social justice, and its main audience is the people who are oppressed. So these are various permutations of situatedness and entering a conversation. Now, I hope this was of some use to you. Please do forgive me if I missed something. As you all are aware, I don't record these videos with copious notes. I just think about a topic and then record my thoughts. Most of these thoughts are extempore, right? Even though a lot of thought goes into it. So thank you so much. Please do share your thoughts and your responses. I love to see your comments and enjoy your support. Stay safe, take care of each other, and as always, from me to you, peace and love.